What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are reviewing the MSR Reload heated gloves, and we're also going to be talking about heated grips. So these are BikeMaster heated grips. All these I purchased with my own money, not sponsored. Just wanted to give a review. So these are the MSR Reload heated gloves. So we're going to do a quick walkthrough of how to use them. These ones are battery powered in particular. So right here we have our little battery pouch. When you buy these from Rocky Mountain ATVMC, they come with this nice case. The charger is a dual charger, so it can charge both batteries at the same time, and it can also unplug and be a USB, which is nice, so you can actually charge these from your motorcycle. A lot of bikes have these USB-C chargers. Little indicator light here is red when it's charging, green when it's fully charged. It doesn't give you a lot of literature. The inside of these have the 3M thin slate, and they are dialed up to maximum warmth, but it doesn't give you a lot of information about run time or anything like that. And then you get a lot of these little caps for plugging all your stuff. We don't really need those. So for your gloves, they have these little clips here, so if you want to clip them together, you can. I don't really use that feature. I don't find it very useful. As far as protection goes, you have a little bit of back plating here on the knuckle. You have no slide pads. You have some touchscreen fingerprints on your fingers. You usually use that for, but that's about it. And then these kind of closed grasps. So to loosen this back one, you pull this part here. So pull this here and it releases that. We can put our batteries in, so we got little Velcro pouches here. Connect one battery in, just plugs right in. I will say I've looked to see if I could convert these to constant on, if I could make my own wiring harness and convert these from running off these little lithium-ion batteries to the battery of the bike, and these ones are 7.4 volts, so DC, so 12 volts from the battery probably won't work well. So I'm gonna keep using these in their battery configuration. Unfortunately, can't really seem to convert them to a hardwired thing. So these are 2XL size gloves. My hands normally are running a large for Alpine Stars, Sedici, 100%, like all the common glove brands. I run a size large. So I bought these for my dad, for him to try. I end up using them more than him. So real quick, just size test. You know, we have that much room at the end, is where my finger is. So I would rather have a large. I'll probably order some in another size. But just for your own sizing, knowing if you're a large in those sizes, I would not go 2XL in this size, especially because you have some numbness in your feeling just because of all the thin slate and stuff like that. You're going to lose some feeling. So tighten that down so we can get this over. This you just pull straight and it does a clasp around your wrist like that, and then pull this, let it go, and it clasps there. Really good for sealing out the wind. Having the gauntlet style here is an absolute must for riding in these cold temperatures. And the only thing here I gotta say is this thing is going to keep flapping around. There's no way to secure it. And this thing also flaps around in the wind too. So if you hate things flapping around in the wind, these gloves, you can't completely eliminate it. So other one, we won't do the same procedure there. To turn these on, you do a long press on this button. It's a very good button, satisfying. It has an audible click. You might even be able to hear it. And then you just quick tap it. So green is low, orange is medium, red is high mode. And then just long press to turn them off again. So see how it fades. So we're kind of in the shade here, but in full sunlight when you're riding, it can be a little bit difficult to see those lights, but at night really nice and bright. I found that this battery is in a place that irritates me for the first minute or so of riding, but then I totally forget about it and don't feel it. How it's like kind of a big hard battery pack right there. It's not right at this joint, it's a little bit back, but still it's a little bit annoying. So overall, I would say these are great gloves. I got these at the end or beginning of this year, kind of late into the 2024 winter. So I believe I paid right about $75 for these because they were on clearance. They now have the new version out. I don't believe much has changed, but I would say these are excellent. These have extended my riding way longer through the season. I highly recommend these for the price. They're literally less than half the price of what you can find from a lot of the Revzilla cycle gears, although granted some of those plug in. So I've really enjoyed these gloves. They're really good. I would definitely change the sizing, make sure you get a better size that's more appropriate for you. And I wish these had more protection. I don't feel like these give me a ton of slide protection if I have an, crash. I do appreciate the soft stuff here. But overall, the purpose of these is really to protect you from the cold and not really quite so much from a crash. You could use these for snowmobiles, ATVs, anything, even going for a hike or a walk where it's really cold out. So that's kind of nice about these. But highly recommend these. We're going to jump on the bike now and talk about these heated grips and these gloves and go for a little ride. What is up, everybody? So we're on the road with the MSR Reload heated gloves. They've got 3M insulate in them. So we hit the road. I'll show a screenshot. It was 41 degrees when we hit the road. It was about 8:15 or so. So we've been on the road for 25-30 minutes or so, going 60 miles per hour pretty consistently. Just letting the all the heat leave your body and hands and everything, and really testing these gloves. So right now you'll see I have them on medium setting. One of the parts of this that I'll give maybe a lower score to is you'll see, like, in full sunlight now, it's pretty much impossible to tell what your setting is or to see it. So if you have really sunny days, you're gonna have trouble seeing the setting you're on. Not a big deal, you just kind of have to cover it with your hand and then you can see it, that indicator light, so you know what temperature or what setting you got them on. But they're not the brightest LEDs. At night they show up pretty well, but in the day it's a little dark. So I will say these gloves don't fit me perfectly. If I could, I would change to one size smaller. And I really noticed the coldness coming through, particularly around the pinky. It's kind of like these two fingers feel like maybe they have a little bit less insulation into them, or maybe they're just skinnier fingers, so they generate less heat on their own. And you'll notice that I have my heated grips up to 4 out of 5. So when I ride this bike where I've got both, I like to rely on the plug-in power, and so I really feel a lot of warmth coming through these handlebars right now. It's really nice, but I would be suffering if I wasn't wearing these gloves right now. And honestly, these gloves on their own right now at a medium setting are, I would say, just barely scraping by. So the wind chill, 41 degrees, doing 45 to 60 miles per hour. Here's the wind chill chart so we can see, but we're definitely below where water is going to be freezing, definitely below 32 degrees Fahrenheit. So it's cold, but these gloves are letting me ride in conditions that I normally wouldn't ride, and so for that I have to give them a big applause, because they're letting me ride and extend my season, which is always a big bonus. Now, one thing about these gloves I will criticize, I thought that they came with a chart that showed battery life originally, like for each setting. So like low setting it would last like 8 hours, medium like 4 hours, high like 2 hours or something like that. But I have not been able to find that chart again. I thought it was included in the literature that came with it. I haven't seen it, so I have to test this on my own to figure it out. It gives me a little bit of that sort of like range anxiety where it's like I'll run this on medium for, you know, like 2 hours, or maybe an hour and a half, hour 45. But then I'm kind of like, oh, do I really need medium? Can I back it down to low, because I really don't want to lose that setting. The other thing I'll say is, if it's not cold enough out and you put this on too high of a setting, your hands are going to start sweating, and sweating is a pretty nasty sensation inside of these gloves with this insulating material, because your hands, like, these are literally designed to not breathe well. So sweating inside of these gloves is a pretty nasty sensation. It also is going to make you feel colder, I think, especially like if you take your gloves off to go do something outside, like hike or go to Cars and Coffee or something like that. So that's why I'd rather target like a slightly lower setting in these gloves, rather than going high. But you know, having the handlebars here are letting me run at just a medium. But if I didn't have these heated handlebars, I'd probably be running a high setting right now, because it's pretty cold and pretty windy. As far as dexterity in these gloves, so they have a lot of insulation in them. I was able to turn this camera on just fine. I actually kind of surprised myself how good the dexterity still was through these gloves with turning the camera on. I had to look and double check to see that I actually did turn it on, but I did. So you can kind of feel it, but the feedback can be very, very muted through these gloves. And it would help if I probably went one size down, but still, regardless, you have a lot of insulation. Pretty difficult to feel. As far as protection, it's pretty minimal. There's no slider on the palm. Your two fingers aren't put together. You have this little bit of like extra padding, but it's probably basically like packaging styrofoam kind of soft stuff in the knuckle, which I'm okay with. I personally don't really love the fighting knuckle kind of look, but you know, it's very, very minimal. One other thing I'll say that's super nice about these gloves is that on Rocky Mountain ATVMC, they sell more batteries for these things, and they're not terribly expensive, where if you had range anxiety or were going for long trips, you could buy a spare set of batteries and then, you know, swap them out and charge them because they're USB rechargeable. So a lot of bikes have that. So it's pretty nice. I think it's pretty thoughtful the way that they did that, where it's a USB recharger and it pigtails one USB to charge both of them. So I really, really like that, how they did it. And there's also an indicator light on the charger that's orange when it's charging and green when it's fully charged. So very thoughtful, nice touch there. These are supposed to be compatible with touchscreens, only on this finger, I believe, since it's got that rounded piece. You know, you can see how the size isn't quite right for my fingers. You know, just peeling that over, it's really not going to work very well for me. But if I shove my hand into it harder, it still doesn't work that great. I would say that as far as the heating functionality goes, it does a good job of heating up kind of like the back of your hand. Seems to be where most of the coils are. It doesn't feel like a lot of the coils go through the palm of the hand, and that's why complementing these gloves with heated grips actually works very nicely. But yeah, it feels like a lot of the warmth is coming to the back of your hand, and then it's relying on that thin slate material, that kind of insulating material, to try to help distribute it maybe across the rest of your like fingers. So it's okay. Honestly, that's kind of where I'd rather have it. My beef with heated grips has always been that it doesn't make a lot of sense to just the inside of your hand, but let the outside of your hand get all the wind and freeze. I'd rather heat the part that's getting like the most brutal part of the wind. You know, because I really fundamentally think that having heated grips are, you know, preventing your hands from getting too cold where they have trouble moving. But you can see like my hand's totally fine moving, and I think it's a safety thing, because if your hands are like so cold, you know, when at a certain point where it's like they have trouble like moving, and your reactions are slowed down, like grabbing the front brake or something, panic braking, then that's where I think, like, at some point I have to have some amount of heat to keep my fingers going, because my hands are the first thing that are going to freeze when I'm riding. Like, my feet, my legs, usually pretty darn good. Like right now, just wearing some Kevlar lined jeans, nothing crazy. I can even wear these in the summer, no problem. So you can see here I got the triple kind of guards. The hand guards, in my opinion, don't do anything really for wind. I think I would, you know, you might notice it a tiny bit if you were in a really extreme situation, but some people say that these help. I don't really think that they do. It's more for aesthetic, in my opinion. But then I got the heated grips and the heated gloves, so we're doing a lot. The only thing I've kind of not done was those big wraparound like gloves that people in Europe tend to use and stuff like that, where they're the things that cover the whole part. So the review of whether I would buy these gloves again, I would totally buy these gloves again. Really good value for the money. The option to buy extra batteries for pretty inexpensive, I think, is a really nice option. Also, if the batteries just kind of like stop holding a charge as well, it'd be nice that you can just easily get new batteries and keep the gloves going, because in my opinion these things are not going to get that worn out. The grip seems fairly durable, the stitching seems pretty good. Like, I could see it reasonable that your battery life degrades before the glove totally wears out, and so you decide to just kind of get new batteries and keep going. So what I would do differently, I would go one size down personally on these gloves, and I like the option of gloves that plug in theoretically. I think it's really nice, because then I could just plug it in, especially if it was to an SAE, where I have an SAE on every single bike. I could plug it in, and I'd be good to go, and I'd never have to, you know, remember to charge up gloves or anything like that. So I like the idea of plug-ins from that perspective. But the batteries are nice, because you could take this onto a four-wheeler or a snowmobile. If you're going on a long walk or hike in the woods, it gives them that added versatility, which I really do like. Don't know where you're going, dude. And you know, for me, the thing is really, like, when you have 4 bikes or you got multiple bikes, it really becomes nice to be able to take accessories back and forth. That's why I love having a backpack that just goes with me regardless of what bike I'm on. These kind of heated gloves that are battery powered, where I can take them with me on any bike I want. The heated grips you gotta leave behind on the bike, right? And they're fairly expensive, and I don't love how big they are. You know, it doesn't bother me a lot, but I think on different bikes I would care more about that. Like, I don't really want to put these on a, you know, bike I'm taking to the racetrack, right? So I would absolutely buy these gloves again. I would go one size down, and I would be looking for a plug-in one. So anyway, I hope this review is helpful to you all, and I will catch you all on the next video. Ride safe, everybody.